So we're going to look at exponents and order of operations. Now that we've covered negatives, we're going to go back and revisit order of operations, but we're going to cover a couple of things, exponents and then absolute value. So let's talk about exponents for a minute. And you have done exponents for a long time. Remember that exponents are, here is your base, this is your exponent. The exponent tells you how many of the bases that there are. So there's 3 bases. And I wrote 3, but that's not what I needed to write. Hold on. Here's what you have to remember, and what gets very easy to forget is that you're multiplying between these. This is 4 times 4 times 4. And if you have your calculator, you're welcome to use it because some of these are going to get pretty big. And that's 64. Now, if you have a calculator, I will work on showing you guys this next face-to-face meeting on how to do these exponents because sometimes these are going to get pretty big. All right, so we've been doing those for a while. We talked about those last face-to-face. You will rarely see this. When you are dealing with a regular number, it has what we call an understood one. There are understood ones all in mathematics, and it's understood to be 1. Anything to the exponent of 1, it's just itself, because that means there's only one of them. So 3 to the exponent of 1 is just 3. And you really won't see that as a problem, maybe ever, but later as we start simplifying your exponents, you may end up with a 1 for an exponent. And just know anything to the first exponent is itself. Now, 0 exponents, and there is an explanation, and if you want the explanation, we can talk about that at our face-to-face meeting. But the rule is anything to the 0 power is 1. Always and forever, anything to the 0 power is 1. Now, if we have something like this last one, remember, we always start with our parentheses. So if you have an exponent on the outside, always solve inside first. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 to the 4th power. And see, this is what I'm saying. I don't want to work that out because 6 times 6 is 36. Times 6 is now 216 times 6, and I have 1,296. So use your calculator for those, and I will show you because there's a button that you can just type it in and it will read it as an exponent, and I will show you that at our next face-to-face. And the reason I can't really do it here is because every brand of calculator is slightly different. All right? Now let's talk about absolute value, and if I'm real honest, it's pretty silly, and I don't really even know. This is one thing that I don't even know when you even have to use it. But I'm going to show it to you so we can know it. You should have already done it, but this is a little bit of a reminder. Absolute value is how far something is away from the origin. And remember, the origin is the 0 point on your number line. So if I have, and the absolute value is indicated by these little lines. They're just straight lines. So the absolute value of 5. Now listen, you do not have to draw a number line, but I'm going to draw it so you can see it. If I have my origin, my 0, and I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go to 5 places on the number line. Let's go ahead and put -5 on the number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The absolute value is asking you how many places from the 0 point that number is. So if I start at the origin and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. It looks like an S, but you know it's a 5. Because it is 5 places from the origin. Let's count how many places -5 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5 is also 5 places from the origin. It does not matter what direction you go. It just wants to know how many places. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of a number is just its positive version. However, you need to pay attention though, because if I have a negative outside, The absolute value only deals with what is inside that absolute value sign. So in this problem, the negative on the outside stays put. I'm not touching it. Then I'm going to work on the inside of those absolute value signs, and the absolute value of negative 11 is just 11. So the total answer on this is negative 11 because there's a negative outside. Now, if you have work to do inside of the absolute value signs, we treat them just like parentheses, so we're going to solve inside of that first. Now, this negative is here, so I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to bring it down, so negative, let me change that color because that's going to bother me. I'm not touching the negative, I'm going to bring it down. And then, inside the absolute value, we have 24 minus 16. When I do that, I get 8. So what is the absolute value then of 8? Now that everything is simplified inside, I'm going to take the absolute value. The absolute value of 8 is 8, and I can't lose this negative, so that whole answer is negative because of the negative outside, 8, and that is the answer. Now, at our last face-to-face thing, we did a little review of order of operations. Well, it wasn't even a review. I just kind of let you guys work independently. But I wanted to go back over these one more time so you had some teaching on it. So the order of operations is parentheses, exponents. Now, technically, it's exponents and roots. Multiply and divide, and this is the part that people get hooked up on, or if they're going to make mistakes in order of operations, it's going to be right here. Multiplication and division is done together from left to right. So if I'm doing a problem, and we had one similar to this on Tuesday, I'm at the place where all I have is multiplication and division, and even though M is first, I have to work from left to right at this step. So in this case, I have to divide first because it comes first. And then the same thing for addition and subtraction. So parentheses, exponents and roots, multiply and divide together from left to right, add and subtract together from left to right. Through a couple of these problems, we're going to start pretty simple and work our way up. And I know we reviewed order of operations Wednesday when we were face-to-face, but I would like to just kind of walk through some of these real quick. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the order of operations written over here on the left side. Parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add or subtract. And obviously this one's a pretty quick one. Most of us know this is the order that we need to do it in. The problem is, as we start working, we just sort of work and we don't stop and think sometimes. So always remember, parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide together from left to right, add and subtract together from left to right. So I'm going to have to multiply first. And technically, this is negative 4 times 3. Whatever I am not using, bring it down. And this one obviously is short. It's not that important necessarily. It'd be kind of hard to lose that 21. But as these get longer and longer and longer, and as we have parentheses inside of brackets, inside of the bigger parentheses, it gets really easy to lose things. So train yourself, even on the short ones, to bring down what you're not using. So I'm not using the 21. I'm going to bring it down. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Now I'm going to add and subtract together from left to right. And like I told you guys before, you're welcome to use your calculators. And you can actually type these in all the way straight across. 21 minus 12 is 9. I can type this in straight across, kind of depending on the calculator that you use. It depends on how you need to enter it. I would really like for you to do these by hand and then check them on your calculator so that you're learning the process. Look at this one, it's a little longer. And again, our order, parentheses are first. Now let me take a second to talk about parentheses, because here's a set of parentheses, here's a set of parentheses. But in this case, Those parentheses indicate multiplication. This step is referring to when you have work to do inside of your parentheses. So technically on this problem I have parentheses, but those parentheses indicate multiplication. So I don't really have any parentheses. The next step is exponents and roots. I don't have any of those, so now I'm going to multiply and divide together from left to right, and here's where we need to pay attention. Here is a set of multiplication and division, but we have to do this first because it comes first from left to right. Multiplication and division are done together from left to right. So we're going to do 18 divided by 9, which is 2. Bring everything else down, and I know that's tedious, and I know you're not going to want to, but keeping your work neat and organized helps tremendously. All right, now I'm going to keep working on this step. I'm not done with all of the multiplication and division, so I have to keep going. I'm going to multiply this, and I'm going to multiply this. Now, this technically is -1, and I'm going to say this, and you're going to hate it, and it is what it is, and it may be confusing to some of you, but a minus and a negative are the same things. Okay, this is a -1. We're going to do 2 times 3, which is 6. I am not touching the +2. Now I have -1 times 3, which is -3. Multiplication and division is all done. So now I'm going to add and subtract together from left to right, whatever it comes first. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. Let's look at another one. This one does have parentheses with stuff to do on the inside. So we're going to start with our parentheses. 8 minus 5 is 3. And go ahead and bring those parentheses down so that you don't kind of get confused about what operation is happening. All right, all the parentheses are done. Now we're going to do exponents. 3 squared is 9. Now I'm going to multiply and divide together from left to right. -10 divided by 5 is -2. Add and subtract together from left to right. 9 minus 2 is 7. It's not a huge amount of problems, but on page 5 in your book, on page 12 in your book, I want you to do exercise 5. All right? Exercise 5, page 12.